So, we start a new session with Joseph in charge. Genesis chapter 41, verses 42 to 46. And we start in verse 42. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand. Folks, this is serious stuff. We end at last with Pharaoh telling Joseph, "See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt." To what he told him, Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand. That's to prove this, I mean it. And arrayed him in vestures of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. Folks, the ring was both a token of the highest dignity and an instrument of the greatest power, as it represented Pharaoh directly. In other words, any decision from now on that Joseph would make was a decision Pharaoh made. Wow. So the gold chain around the neck signified exactly the same when Joseph appeared publicly. I come from Germany. And in Germany, most mayors of big towns, when they make an open public appearance, they wear this chain that represents their office. And that's what that was. When Joseph appeared publicly, he wore this gold chain that said, "I have the power of Pharaoh." So Pharaoh also made him to ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, "Bow the knee, bow the knee." And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. Now you realize the second chariot represented that Joseph was next to the king in authority and office. But there was also that shouting of "bow the knee" ahead of the chariot. We translate that "bow to the knee," but it was actually much more than that. You see, it was a special word. If it were in Hebrew, it was "tender father coming, tender father coming." But it couldn't have been that, couldn't it? Because that would signify that Joseph is going to take care of you like a dad. Well, at 30 years of age, that would be weird. Okay? Now, what else could it mean? But it was Egyptian. And it would mean something like favored of Pharaoh. Favored of Pharaoh. And you know what? Either way, people had to kneel before his presence. That is how awesome, how mighty his authority was that Pharaoh gave him. And so Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, and without you no man can lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt." Do you think he meant that? When he said that, of course it probably couldn't be taken literally. But you see, it meant really that nothing could be done in the nation of any importance but what was by Joseph's order and authority, the hands and feet being the principal instruments of action. In other words, if there was something important to be done, if Joseph didn't order it, then don't do it. You see, it was important that people would obey Joseph implicitly so that during the 7 years of famine, they could survive. Furthermore, Pharaoh gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. His naturalization as an Egyptian was completed by his alliance with a family of high distinction. Asenath means she who is consecrated to Nath. Nath is the goddess of wisdom, a matron deity of the city of On, where Potipharah was priest. Now, some people think that he believed in the one true God. Whether that's true or not really doesn't matter here. See, according to Hastings Dictionary of the Bible, they quote a legend, a traditional legend passed down from rabbi to rabbi to rabbi since the days of Moses. It was Asenath was a heroine of remarkable Jewish and Christian romance. Asenath, in that romance, renounces her false gods before she married Joseph. You know what? This could be believable, considering the influence Joseph had on those around him. And here it says, and Joseph went over all the land of Egypt. Joseph didn't waste any time. He needed to familiarize himself with all the cities and structures and study how his plans could be implemented. After all, God inspired him to make plans. Well, he had to make sure these plans could be implemented. So, and Joseph was 30 years, it says here, when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. Again, he went throughout all the land of Egypt. Here we find out Joseph endured imprisonment and exile for 13 years. So previously, Joseph surveyed the land when he was first given the authority. But apparently, as he went out from Pharaoh's presence the second time, he went to gather in and he started implementing his plans for the years of plenty that had now begun. What can we learn from this? As I was going through this story, I thought, man, what can we learn from this? And I prayed about it. So, what I was thinking, we tend to procrastinate a lot, don't we? I'll do it tomorrow. That's okay. I'll do it tomorrow. Joseph did not procrastinate. As soon as he was equipped for the task at hand, that is, gathering during the years of plenty, so that during the years of famine, they would survive. As soon as he was equipped for the task at hand, he did it. If he had put it off until tomorrow, Egypt would have perished. See, consider the perilous time, or the so-called perilous time in which we live right now, in the year 2020. Right now, I'm speaking to on this video in September of 2020. Some of our neighbors are open to listen to the gospel in spite of this so called crisis. And how many of us are putting it off? Oh, I'll tell them tomorrow. I'll tell them about Jesus tomorrow. Sadly to say, those neighbors that were open to listen to us talk about our Lord Jesus Christ, if you don't tell them today, for some of them, it definitely will be too late. Can you live with that?